Voices are being raised and questions asked all across the state and country as many Americans grapple with how to tackle the issue of racism. And we're looking into that conversation today with Spectrum News 1 Washington, D.C. Bureau reporter Kevin Fry, who takes a closer look at some way leaders are trying to revitalize communities and break down barriers.
Even in the middle of a pandemic, work is still underway in Kannapolis, part of a massive revitalization of downtown with a new baseball stadium, apartment complex, and retail space. Kannapolis is home to an opportunity zone, which city manager Mike Legg says helped seal the deal on some outside investment.
We had a really good opportunity for using opportunity zones because of our public investment we're making. It was a distressed part of our community.
Across North Carolina, there are more than 250 opportunity zones, low-income areas where tax breaks aim to stir investment that may not happen otherwise. The concept, which had supporters from both parties on Capitol Hill, was included in the massive tax overhaul passed by Congress in 2017. Representative Richard Hudson views the zones as one avenue to help alleviate racial and economic disparities.
The idea behind these opportunity zones is let's go to underserved communities that aren't getting the same types of investment as other places.
But the zones are not without their critics. Some worry they contribute to gentrification, and recent studies have raised questions about whether they're actually achieving their mission. For his part, Legg argues the opportunity zone-backed development in Kannapolis is a long-term play.
This is one situation where I'm not sure that we can pinpoint specific advantages to our low to moderate income community, but I think it's one of those rising tide floats all boats situations where I think having a good solid downtown core I think can benefit with spinoff effects for everybody.
The death of George Floyd has renewed focus on another idea, one that supporters argue could dramatically help address disparities: reparations. But while Congress shows no signs of acting, some smaller communities are. The concept of reparations has floundered on Capitol Hill for decades. But while the idea may now be getting more attention, including a hearing last year, the Republican leader of the Senate has made his opposition clear.
I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago, for whom none of us currently living are responsible, is a good idea.
Without action in Washington, though, some communities are moving on their own. Asheville, North Carolina grabbed national headlines last month when the city council there approved a resolution, both supporting reparations and apologizing for the city's role in discrimination.
The days of incremental change, I believe, have left us. And in the now, we require what I believe is to be institutional change to move forward.
While the word reparations may conjure up ideas of direct payments to African Americans, this plan is not that. Instead, it calls for making investments to help tackle racial disparities and promote generational wealth in the black community. A commission will be tasked with coming up with recommendations. Councilwoman Julie Mayfield notes, though, that these sorts of societal changes are not something they can do alone.
It calls on the federal and state governments to take the same step and to make similar investments. This is, I think, in most everyone's view, a national debt and a national need to atone for what has happened.
A national debt that the events of 2020 have forced the country to reckon with. In Washington, Kevin Fry, Spectrum News 1.